What's up, Swing Trader Snacks here. We're going to jump in and do our watch list for Wednesday, October 22nd. Starting here with a little bit of market breadth. Let's zoom into the SPY here and see how we feel about yesterday's price action. Beginning of the week, we were looking to push out of this zone that we hung out in all last week after 2 Fridays ago's sell-off, right? And then we went sideways, neutral, indecision, and we were hoping for a break to the upside to begin to tell the story of a possible push into year end. First step of that happened here on Monday, where we were looking for a break out of the range and a close above it, which is exactly what we got here on Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, I've been saying we'd like to see follow through, continuation. Yesterday was a bit of an indecision candle. We had a push up towards highs before selling off and closing the day on a doji. So a bit of indecision, but I would say overall a very good look. We were well above that midway point on Monday's candle. Really just a constructive day. And today, if we can get that follow through break to highs, it would really be playing out just exactly how we were looking for, beginning late last week, especially early this week, Monday's watch list, exact price action we were looking for. They had an opportunity to really shake things up and break things down. They did not. As I was saying early in the week, that the edge was certainly bullish. But before we go putting on too many positions or go into a risk profile A, we need the market to get back onto trend. We're still going sideways, I would say, until we bust 2 new highs and begin trending again, right? Something more like this sort of move as opposed to going sideways, right? So guys, if we can get back onto trend in market this week, that would be absolutely fantastic. Today we have Tesla reporting after the close. Couple earnings plays I'll talk about, NVIDIA specifically. We have Tesla reporting today after the close. And then this Friday, we have the first economic data report we have had in weeks because of the government shutdown. We were getting the CPI, the inflation numbers on Friday. And then next Wednesday, we have the Fed policy update where it is still a 99% chance that we get a rate cut. Friday, I would guess, could change the odds of that, right? If we see a spike in inflation. Maybe that changes. We'll just have to see, right? We can't predict these things. Talking about predicting, I have to address this. There is still no free lunch. We were talking about NVIDIA's earnings early in the week and how I said, we would love for the Mag 7 to be a part of the push into year end, and I think they will be. But NVIDIA was one that was a bit worrisome because we just had that whole boycott. NVIDIA. I keep saying NVIDIA. I mean Netflix just reported earnings yesterday. Okay. But the point that I want to make here, Netflix reported yesterday. And, we said earlier in the week, we're going to stay away from that. And we don't play earnings anyways. It's a gamble, period. Okay. I will die on that hill. It is an absolute gamble. Okay. Even if you think you know something, you don't know the market's reaction. NVIDIA just recently beat earnings, raised guidance, and announced a multi-deca-billion-dollar share buyback, and it sold off, right? Even if you knew the earnings was going to be that fantastic, you didn't know the market reaction to it. Anyways, my point, Netflix. We were saying not to get into that, and then what I saw was that I think I saw 97% Polymarket had them at beating earnings. So these new prediction markets have people thinking free lunch. No. It is still a gamble. I don't care what the prediction markets tell you. They were wrong. 97% it was saying that they were going to beat earnings. They did not. They missed, and they're blaming it on the boycott. But anyways, big gap down after hours yesterday on Netflix. We'll see how they recover. It could set up a gap down reversal, right? If it is an overreaction, it could be a gap down reversal play. We're going to have to wait and see. Let's look at this here on the after hours chart. Okay, yeah, as you see, big, nasty sell-off. Oh, but the prediction markets told me that 97% it was going to... You're like, dude, come on, man. Take a walk with that crap. Do not think that is alpha or edge, these new prediction markets that are going to start predicting earnings. No, brother. No. You can wait and you can play the react. Wow, so we're all the way down here. We're going to gap down to this. So yeah, this is certainly going to be a gap down reversal candidate. We'll see what happens here. Bootcamp, you guys know what we look for in a gap down reversal, but basically we look for a gap down on earnings or a news event, right? And then we look for the gap down high to be breached. I don't like to do it same day. So I would like for this to gap down, maybe go sideways for a day or two and then breach that gap down high candle, that gap down candle high, and then you've got a gap down reversal play triggering. Doesn't mean we'll take it, but it'll be on the radar. I will say that. We will look at it. All right. So anyways, guys, just wanted to address that real fast. The sort of a new thing that I'm seeing is these new polymarket predictions of earnings reports. Dude, stay away from that stuff, okay? It is not an edge. I promise you that. Here, done. I'm not going to do this example every time it happens. 97% beat earnings, absolutely tanked. Like, get out of here. So guys, let's go back to what we actually care about here, which is a little bit of market breadth before we hop into what is, again, a pretty short watch list. So RSP, we wanted this guy breaking out of range. It did and closed above it yesterday. Good look there. I like what I see. And then the Qs, again, tried to make new highs. Did not just yet. So maybe that's something we can do today with a bit of follow through. IWM is still looking decent as well. A bit of an indecision candle there on that. I would like to see this get out of range, start pushing back up towards highs. And then crypto got really shaky yesterday. I don't know what that was all about. It was looking good. I went to sleep. I'm in Thailand, so my hours are a little funky, but I went to sleep when it was ripping, and then I woke up today and we were right back to where we started. I don't know what's going on in crypto land, but look, until this is back over the 50, no interest here, right? A lot of people ask me, does the triple R trigger work on crypto? I don't do it, right? I am invested in Bitcoin. I'm invested in Ethereum. I'm invested in Link, and I'm invested in like BMNR and strategy. I have crypto exposure, but it's an investment. I'm not trading crypto. But I would say of course I've looked at it. I've been asked this question enough that, obviously I jumped in and took a look. So the question, does the triple R model work on Bitcoin or crypto more specifically? I don't care. I don't do alts, okay? I just told you I have to, but outside of Ethereum and Link, I'm not talking about freaking Penguin and Pootcoin, whatever it is, Fartcoin. But on Bitcoin, sure, you could argue there's fundamentals here, maybe. But anyways, we look for a strong company in a trend backed by growing fundamentals. All right, whatever. Let's say Bitcoin is that. Okay, what I will say is its ability to respect structure is there, right? This certainly does so. Look at this cup and handle. Look at this trend, higher highs, higher lows. It's not as shaky, even though people will suggest it is. Sure, it's volatile, but there's reason behind it. It pulls back to levels and reacts at them, okay? So, yeah, I would say, if anything, Bitcoin on the weekly, let's pull out if anything, I would say the triple R works well on the weekly on Bitcoin. And you can make the argument for Ethereum as well. But we look for a retracement reaction at around a level, and a remount of the level is your entry for triple R. So look, sometimes they're cleaner than others. This one would have been, a little bit tough. Say maybe you got in on that one here. You would have had a little bit of drawdown certainly, but ultimately it worked very well. So you got to be a little bit more loose, I would say, because Bitcoin is a bit more volatile. But still respect structure, a lower low, the swing low being your stop level. So if you wanted to do a triple R here, the level's at about through 114. Okay, that's a triple R on the weekly on Bitcoin, if that's what you want to do. Okay, but I just invest in this. I buy it when it goes on sale. So we'll jump in here to today's short watch list. I'm still watching Dash here at the all-time high level, still showing an ability to hold structure. We have now a bit of a shake and go setup here. Tried to break out, fake out, shake out, pulled right back into structure, into prior all-time highs, cup and handle level. Clear support, okay, prior resistance, clear support now. We certainly want to see it hold. A breach just under that quickly reverses is fine, guys. But anyways, if we do get our reaction off of this level and a remount of the 9, I may take this again. I gave it a try last week, made 29% on those calls that were up over 60% on the day. I ended up only, it rolled over, right? And I had to protect risk. I was a little bit preemptive entering the market last week in the middle of range. But guys, if we do break out today, 2 highs, this guy's up there pretty high on my radar. I'm willing to re-enter. And then we've got RIEN, got a strong company in a trend backed by growing fundamentals, also got accumulation, ability to hold structure, all of the things here. And we're getting our first pullback under the 9. If we get a reaction at or around our level, remount of the 9, this is on the radar. You can also look at NBIS, something that I'm actually considering taking a starter in a longer term position. A few, maybe even now weeks ago, I talked about the idea of, a lot of people are calling AI a bubble, right? Well, okay. I think it's far too early to be saying that. I think what we're in is the beginning of a massive shift in industry and technology, just all kinds of things, right? AI is not going anywhere, and I think it will continue to grow. So calling it a bubble now, it doesn't align with my ideas. And I'm viewing it sort of like in positioning into leaders in the dot-com, right? Like, yeah, the dot-com bubble burst, but there are still companies that if you got exposure to and held since 2000, I mean, Microsoft, Amazon, you're doing fantastic. Stuff like that. So I'm sort of looking for some of those. It's, of course, speculative at this time. But I'm looking for some of those ideas where it's like we're getting into year 1 or 2 of AI infrastructure build out, which as long as AI is a thing, that's going to be a very important part of it. So look, I'm considering getting some shares here, a starter on NBIS on this pullback. But at the end of the day, we might also get a triple R trigger where we can maybe play some option contracts as well. But I'm looking at getting some shares here, and I will add if we continue to pull back, because this is a long-term, I'm hoping I can have the discipline to hold this for a decade or two, sort of trade here, mindset here, and maybe have something in a couple of decades that I'm proud I did, that I'm glad that I did. I would hate to be so tapped into the market at this time and in a couple of decades just not have positioned into a couple of these possible leaders in year 1 or 2, right? I would be quite regretful if that time were to come. So I'm doing a little bit of that. I'm speculating in AI for long-term holds. NBIS one I'm going to start with, or I'm going to start getting a bit of exposure to. And back to the triple R setouts, we've got ANET as well. This is a bit more of a shake and go. So you get a breakout, fake out, shake out, back into structure, it held, and we're getting our triple R trigger. This is on the radar, so I think maybe to be safe through Monday's high would maybe be a better trigger for us today. We'll just see how the market opens and looks today. And then OSCR is one that I have stayed away from. I typically like to stay off of heavy retail names because we know the market's ability to punish those names at times. But look, they've done quite a bit of that over the last couple of quarters. They've been shaking this thing all around and popping it up, getting the emotions in, rolling it over. But at the end of the day, we're putting in some structure here that is attractive. So I want to keep an eye on this, and I don't think that I'm going to trade the breakout, right? Yesterday was a triple R trigger, so you get a retracement reaction at around our level and a remount. Pretty tight one there, but at the end of the day, you've also got a cup and handle, right? And what I'm thinking I'm probably going to do is let this break out and start trading triple R triggers after it does so, because this is a nice, beautiful base on accumulation volume. I think this thing has some legs when it does break out, so we'll be keeping this guy on watch. And then MP is another one. This entire sector is getting a bit choppy, the rare earth sector, but look, we're pulling right back into structure, okay? Probably going to be okay here. If we break this and really begin to roll over and start making lower lows, yeah, absolutely. Caution flag. But right now, this is pretty attractive price, actually. You got a breakout and it rolled back into structure. If we get back over the 9, you might want to take that play for a little squeezy. Guys, that's a pretty tight list. There's, oh, NVIDIA. Sorry, we'll end with NVIDIA. Triple R trigger on NVIDIA over 185. All right, that's the play there, and it is high up on my list. So I really like NVIDIA. I really like Dash, and we're going to keep an eye on IREN, MP, ANET, OSCR. I think I want to let breakout come back and start to set up a trend through the breakout level. But yeah, guys, there's some stuff to watch, okay? There's some attractive things out there. Let's make sure that we get the follow through we need in the market to move into like a B+, maybe even an A risk profile in the market. Let's see if we can get that. But first, we need our step 2 to happen. We need follow through. All right, step 1 was breaking out of range and holding. It did that on Monday. Now we need follow through, and we said Tuesday, Wednesday would really be a nice time to see that. So we'll see if we get that here today, breaking 2 new highs and holding it. I don't want to break out and immediately reverse and invalidate the move. All right, I want to break out and I want to hold it and I want to start to trend. And if we can trend in the markets, we're going to make some money. All right, guys, stay safe, manage your risk. Let's go make some money. I'll see you soon.